Hello, thanks for tuning in to the Studio Drew channel. And in this video, I'm going to share with you a technique that you can use for when you're mixing drums to get your kick and snare to stand out more in the mix. Okay, so let's listen to what we have here. These are drums that I recorded for a song of mine a long time ago. Let's see what we got. Alright, so that's a pretty simple setup. We have overhead mics left and right. We got a kick. We got two mics on the snare, top and bottom, and a hi-hat mic. So our goal here is to take the kick and snare recordings and replace each hit with the sample of the snare and the kick. Okay, so that's just a pure snare and a pure kick. And we're going to use that to replace all the hits that are already in here, okay? So let's get started. Okay, so I got these samples from the same session. After the drummer recorded drums for the song, after he played through the song, I asked him to give me a couple of hits of just the snare and the kick. And I thought these hits sounded the best. So that's what we're going to be using. First of all, you want to pull up an instrument track. You want to pull up Groove Agent, and then on Groove Agent, we're going to load up the pads with the kick and snare. So let's drag the snare sample onto C1 or C2, and drag the kick sample to C#2. Okay. So when you click that, you should have the snare. When you click this, you should get this. You should get the kick, and then what you want to do is to drag this guy over so that the sample starts right where the audio starts too. Okay, boom. All right, same thing for the kick. Drag this guy over to right where the audio begins. Oh, there you go. This could be a little closer. Okay. All right. It's got kick, snare, and then let's move this guy up right underneath the kick track, and then we're gonna name this kick sample. You're gonna click the kick track, make sure that's highlighted, press enter, go to hit points, and then you're gonna adjust the threshold so that Cubase is detecting only where the kicks are, because you have a little bit of the snare that got bled into that mic. So if you put the threshold too low, it's going to detect the snare hits too. So you want to make sure you set it so that it's only picking up on the kick. So once you got that, click Create MIDI Notes, and then fixed velocity 127, and for the pitch you want to do C#2 because that's the pad that we had the kick on. Press OK. And there you go. So these kick samples are all lined up with where the original kicks were. Alright. In the original kick, you can hear, right? You can hear some of that snare and hi-hat that got bled in. But then when you have just a kick sample, you have just a kick. That's why it's so nice to replace it, because then when you're adjusting the volumes, let's say you want the kick to be a little louder, you don't have to bring up a little bit of the snare with it too. Alright, let's do the same thing for the snare sample. I'm going to duplicate the kick sample track, and then I'm going to delete that and then rename this as snare sample. And then make sure it's selected. Click the snare audio, press enter, adjust the hit points. There you go. I think that now all the snares are detected. Click Create MIDI Note, and then now we're going to set the pitch as C2 because that was the pad where the snare was located in. And there you go. Got the kick and snare samples that replaced all the snare hits and the kick. Okay, so let's go ahead and mute the original kick and snare and see what this sounds like with just the sample. Alright, so now that we don't have any of the bleed into the kick and snare mic, right, you could get a cleaner sounding drum kit. But sometimes you might want a little bit of the bleed and the ambience that you get from the original recording. So you can unmute those and blend them in however you want, just to give it like that more acoustic feel on the drums. And then from here, you can do whatever you want to make your drums sound the way you want to. So you can go ahead and process the snare. For example, you can let's just make sure we only have the samples for now. I'm gonna just add a tape machine plugin. Just distort it a little bit, right? Without it, with it, you can hear a little bit of that distortion. Maybe put a compressor on there. Slow attack. Slow release. And then maybe a little reverb. Use a short plate reverb. The reverb sounds it just sounds okay. All right. Whatever you want to do. I don't like how that snare came out, but the point is to just make sure you can replace the original recording with the sample, so that you have more control over just the volume, and so that, you know, they just kind of have a more polished sound in the mix. Cool. I hope that helped. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in that little section below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. And if you have any, things that you would like to learn on Cubase or whatever, let me know about that too, and maybe I'll make a video. And I will catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.